This is Erin Peliquin from Digital Photography for Moms.
Today I'm going to show you how to create a watermark based on your signature. You are going to want to start with a white piece of paper and a black pen and write your signature or your initials as large as you can on that piece of paper. After that, you'll want to scan it or take a well-exposed photo of it so that you can transfer the file to your computer. Once you do that, you'll have something that looks like this. These are my friend's initials. Her first name is Lisa and her last name begins with an A, so we've got an L-A here. Now, as you can see, she wrote her signature several times. We are going to start by selecting the best one, which I do think is this top file. I'm going to select my Marquee tool and then change it to the rectangular marquee and drag a rectangle around the edges. Now that I've got this rectangle selected, I want to copy it. I can do that by typing Command or Control C or by going right here to the Edit menu and selecting Copy. And next, I can type Command or Control N to create a new file, or I can go to the File menu and select New Blank File. Now, you can see that the dimensions of my selection have automatically been filled in. I want to make sure that the resolution is 72 pixels per inch because we're creating this watermark for internet usage rather than for printing. And I want to make sure that the background contents are transparent. So once I've selected those items, I'll hit OK. Here's my new file, and I will either type Command or Control V to paste, or I'll go to Edit and select Paste that way. So now I've got that one set of initials in its own file. Now, in order to make a high quality file of this watermark, we're going to want to improve the exposure a little bit. So I'm going to go to my adjustment layers and add a levels adjustment layer. And the first thing I want to do is move my whites way over to the left to brighten up that white background as much as I can. I don't want to go too far past the base of the pixels that are showing up, so I'll stop right about there. I can move my midtones then over to the left even more. And then I'm going to finish by moving my blacks over just a touch so that I can bring back some contrast and definition to the signature itself. So returning to my layers panel, there's a before and there's an after. What we've done essentially is to increase contrast so that it will be easier to select the pixels that we want to keep. Now that I have finished this adjustment, I'm going to right-click on the levels layer and select Merge Down. My next step is to grab my Magic Wand tool. I want to make sure that my tolerance is low and that contiguous is turned off. I'm going to click in the white area, and I'm not getting a good clean selection, so that tells me my tolerance is too low. So I'm going to type Command or Control D to deselect, and I'll bring my tolerance back up to 27 or so. You might have to play with this, but this is the look you're going to want to end up with. So you can see that I've got these marching ants indicating that I have selected everything except the initials. I also notice that I've got a couple of stray spots up here. So with my Magic Wand tool set to add to selection, I'm just going to click over each one of those, and that took care of it. Now that I have selected this background, I'm just going to hit my delete or backspace button. And now you can see that all that is left is the signature itself. This checkerboard in the background indicates that the file is transparent now. So the only pixels left are the actual letters. I'm going to type Command or Control D to deselect and get rid of those annoying marching ants. And we're getting close to the end here. Now, as you notice, the file is a little bit bigger than the letters themselves, and ideally we'll have the file be exactly the same size. It's hard to do that with the Marquee or the crop tool, but you can do it. Also, if you have my free action, the Texas Chicks Trim Actions, this is a great time to run it. So I'm just going to run trim from the top left, and you can see now that all of my extra space has been removed. Now this step is optional, so don't feel like you have to do it, but it is nice to have the file be only as big as you need it to be. Now, returning to my layers panel, currently I've got a black watermark and I could save it if that is what I wanted. However, I like my watermarks to be white or gray. So I am going to add a solid color adjustment layer, and I am going to type in 255 in the red, green, and blue fields to select white. If I wanted a gray color, I would type something like 100, 100, 100. So red, green, and blue would be equal, but the number would be lower. I could also use the color picker box over here to select any color that I wanted for my watermark, but white is what I want. And so you can see that that has turned my entire file white rather than just the initials themselves. So to apply this color to just the initials, I need to clip the color fill layer to layer 1. With color fill selected, I type Command or Control G, and that creates my clipping mask. So you can see now that color fill 1 is indented and it's got this small arrow pointing down to layer 1. Now it's hard for you to see the signature probably, but it is still there in white. Now this last step is the most important in order to make your watermark work. You are going to go to File, Save As, and you want to make sure that your format is a PNG. The PNG is the only file format that will preserve the transparency. If we were to save this as a JPEG, we actually would see a white box, so the background would turn white if we saved it as a JPEG. A PNG will give us just a file with the initials themselves with no background. So I am going to call this LA Initials and save it as a PNG. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And now I can apply this watermark to an image. So I'm going to go to this image that I've edited with MCP's Inspire for Photoshop Elements. I'm going to sharpen it and size it for the web by using MCP's Inspire Webify Sharp. So I've selected that action and I'm going to hit continue. And so now my image is being resized to an appropriate size for the internet and sharpened as well. So you can see that the layers have been flattened. And to apply the watermark, I'm going to go to my File menu and select Place and navigate to the file that I've just created. You can see that it's placed right here over the center of my image in free transform mode. Free transform mode means that I can click it and drag it until I find a location that I'm happy with. I can also click and drag on these corner sizing boxes to adjust the size. Now you can go as small as you want, but you don't want to go too much bigger than the original because you might lose quality on your watermark. Once I'm happy with my transformations, I'll hit OK. If I decide that I need to move it or change it further, with the initials layer selected, I would just type Command or Control T to return back to free transform mode. Now the last thing I'll do is save the opacity of the file because I don't need a bright white watermark here. So I'm going to take this down to about 40%. And looking at the image, I have decided that I do want to move the watermark over a little bit more because this background on this particular file is so clean. If someone did want to remove the watermark, they could do that with the clone tool without too much work. So going back into free transform, Command or Control T, I'm just going to move this over her face and hair a little bit to make it that much harder to remove. And maybe I'll even bring it over in this corner. So you can see that you just kind of want to play with the location of your watermark so that it's not distracting to your photo, but that it does protect it from being stolen as well. Now that I've placed the watermark and adjusted the opacity, I'll save this file, and I can save it this time as a JPEG, and it will be ready for posting on my website or blog or Facebook, emailing, whatever I want to do with it.
So this has been the Digital Photography for Moms tutorial on creating a watermark from your own signature in Photoshop Elements. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if so, I've got lots of other tutorials about making your photos look better on my website. That address is digitalphotographyformoms.com. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.